Alright, hello, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about arrays. So arrays are pretty useful when it comes to programming, and C# offers us numerous ways to store and manipulate sets of data, and one of those ways is with arrays. So what is an array? So an array is a data structure that is used to store a collection of data. And the best way to think of it is a collection of variables of the same type. So imagine if you needed to store 100 numbers, rather than create 100 different variables in here and store one number in each variable. You can just create an array, and the array will hold all of your numbers for you. And you can use it for anything, so it can be an array of strings, an array of doubles or floats, whatever it is. You can even have an array of other arrays if you wanted to. But yeah, it's a way to store everything in one spot. The items that you store in an array are called the elements of the array. All right, so you'll hear me say that a fair bit as we go through. So how do we make an array? So I'll type it out first, and then we'll talk about what I'm doing here, as we always do. You did your cool. So an array is an object in C#. So to create an object, we have to instantiate, it's hard word to say, instantiate the object. And you do that with this new keyword. We'll talk about objects and methods in the objects and methods video when we get to that. So go into full detail on that later. But let's just read this from left to right like we always do and figure out what's going on here. So as with everything in C#, we still have to declare a data type. So this is going to be an array of type integers. These two little square brackets, this is how we define the array. So I'm creating an integer array and I'm calling it my array. All right, so that's just the name of my array. And then here I'm saying my array gets a new integer array of 5 elements. So this array will be able to hold 5 numbers for us. All right. So once again, creating an integer array called my array, and it gets a new integer array that has 5 elements. Now that we have our array of 5 elements, how do we assign values into our array? There's a couple of different ways you can do it, and I'll write them out and we'll talk about them. So my array 0, 8, my array 1, 100. Making up random numbers as I go. 3, 1, 4. Okay, so you might be thinking this ends at number 4, but we made it have 5 spaces. But you can see there are still 5 elements here. The reason for that is in C# and in most other programming languages, arrays are what are called zero indexed. So the first value is at index 0. The second value is at 1, third is at 2, fourth is at 3, the fifth value will be at 4. So these numbers here are the position in the array. So position 0 gets assigned 8, position 1 gets 100, position 2 gets 150, and so on and so on. Okay, but what you always got to remember is that 0 is the first element, and then that's the second, third, fourth, and then this one here is our 5th element. Cool movie, if anyone's ever seen that. I know that's a little confusing at first when you first start to look at these things, but as long as you remember that the first object or the first element is always at position 0, and then it's easy to get your head around from there. Okay, so this is a pretty, you wouldn't normally see this in programming, writing out each element like this and assigning something to it automatically. What we would normally do is when we instantiate the array, we'll assign values to it at that point if we know them. If not, we'll assign them later on as we do come across them. So I'll show you what I mean by that. And we can use a nice shortcut here and just put curly brackets like this. And I'll do 8, 100, 150, 2001, and 4. Okay, so this is exactly the same as what I've done here, but just a quicker, short way of doing it. That's good. Let's create my array and assign all these values to it. I'll get rid of this. So in this instance, 8 is still going to be at position 0. That's at position 1, position 2, position 3, position 4. Right? Now that you have values in your array, how do you access those values? Well, the same as when we were assigning a value to the index individually. So I was saying at index 2, I want to put 150. At index 3, I want to put 2001. We can access the elements in the same way. So I'll do console write line. Every time, do that. Write line, and I want to print out, let's say, the third number here. I'll say my array at index 2. So again, 0, 1, 2. This is going to print whatever value is at position 2, which is 150. Do that now. Cool, and you see there, printed out 150. All right. That's essentially all there is to arrays at the moment. There's a lot more that you can do with them. You can store arrays inside of arrays. You can have multi-dimensional arrays. But in general, when you first start out programming, this is the main sort of use for them. It's just a flat basic array and assigning values to those. So on their own, they're not that hard to understand, but they're a very powerful tool in programming, and you'll see a little bit of their power when we come to doing the loops lesson, which will be the next lesson. We'll use some arrays to run through some loops. So that's basically everything that we needed to go over with arrays. Thanks for watching, and please like, share, and subscribe.